There's a huge myth in print on demand that absolutely has to die because I hear it all the time, and it is the single biggest thing holding back the vast majority of people from ever seeing any kind of real success. And after getting to directly coach hundreds of people inside of WeScale University, I've finally figured out what it is. And it is absolutely nothing to do with your store, the niche, or even the designs that you're launching on your site. So I'm going to explain what it is, exactly why it's so dangerous, and how you can avoid falling for it, just like so many other people do, myself included. So first off, I want you to think back to a time when you first told somebody that you were thinking about starting a print-on-demand brand. Because for many of us, the people around us just simply do not understand. And when we work our heart out on building a store, and our friends and family look at it and they just see, to them, a whole bunch of t-shirts, their replies can be less than motivational. Personal note, for the longest time, I didn't even tell anybody, my friends, family, nobody, that I was even starting a brand. That's how self-conscious I was about it. And when I finally had our first store that was doing really well, that was the time that I decided to share with everybody what I had been doing. And when they looked at the site, I expected to hear some oohs and ahs, and in fact, I got the exact opposite of that. It was, really? People buy this? And at first I was taken aback. I was like, yes, it's actually doing very well. They're like, but it's just t-shirts. And it was just something about like the dissent in their voice as they said it. And this can lead you second guessing yourself before you even start, which then leads to your vision shrinking, doubt starts to creep in, and you begin playing small without even realizing it. And if deep down you don't believe that what you're building is real, then you will never treat it like something that could be really big. And that tiny belief is part of the thing that might be holding you back without you ever realizing it. It's framing your mindset for thinking small instead of thinking big. And here's how it plays out when we transition over to how we're showing up in the business. Because with that limiting beliefs planted in our minds, a lot of us print-on-demand sellers start off thinking very, very small. And when you're thinking small, we think transactional. We think like we're gambling like at a slot machine. This leads to us uploading designs with no real plan because, again, we're not really expecting it to work in the first place. And then we end up hopping from trend to trend without building any real brand. So we have no systems and no help because we just don't believe that it's even worth it. So you're not failing because print on demand doesn't work or there's not a massive opportunity here. You're failing because you're building like it can't work. But if you're wondering how to break that belief and how there are many sellers out there breaking 100K plus per month, this next part is what they figured out that most never do. Because I've seen it firsthand. This model scales way beyond what most people think is possible. Like my own brands, for example, have scaled to do over $25 million in sales. We've taken 8 different brands from $0 to $1 million in their first year online. And there are students inside of WeScale hitting $100,000 plus months. Then there are massive 7- and 8-figure brands such as House of Chingasos and Life is Good that are proof that print on demand is not just a way to make some side income or passive income. It is the fundamental building block of some really big brands. So the model is certainly not the problem. It's the way that you think about the model. And if you are interested in building a real brand, but you have no idea where to start and you don't have the money to shell out for some overpriced course, then we've downloaded everything that we do to run our brands and put it in a 31+ hour course and made it completely free. You can find it in the description below. I know when I say scaling up, that does not just mean upload a bunch more designs. That's certainly a part of it, but I want to show you what actually moves the needle. As if you want to grow a real brand, you need way more than just designs. It's about having better operations, more times than I can count, where as you have your first, scale, like your first design that really starts taking off, and you might go from doing $1 to $3 grand per month, upwards of 10, then upwards of 20. Whenever that happens, there is almost always, when it's the first time that they're scaling, it's always followed by a downturn. Now, why is that? Well, a lot of times sellers get stuck sitting there going, I don't know what happened, like ads just fell off a cliff. And I felt the same way too at first. But what is actually happening is as we're scaling up and we've put in the actions that got the business to that point in the first place, then as we start scaling up, all these new happy problems start appearing that we didn't have to face before. And more than that, we have new shinier objects because the opportunity is larger than it's ever been. So to give an example on the new issues that pop up, which it's not always, it shouldn't be defined as an issue, it's just more like operational overhead. You have a lot more customer service tickets. And even though on our brands, our average refund rate is like 1.2, 1.3%, it's super low. you still have more tickets. You're naturally always going to have people writing in, asking about what size and that sort of thing. And so that's just one example of time that we were previously able to put into designs and building the brand that we now have to allocate to just maintaining the business as it is. So that takes our eye off the ball. And then that's just one aspect. Now we have a lot more cash flowing in and out of the account. So we have to spend more time watching our cash flow and making sure we're running our P&L the right way. And all of these things, while very solvable, the first time going through it, it is so easy to lose sight of what actually got us here. And what can solve that for you is systems. And systems I used to take to mean some big overblown Trello or Asana board, which with lots of fancy integrations. All that you need is to sit down, block off 2 hours, and just go through everything that you were doing in the business that can be outsourced to somebody else. The places to start are customer service, uploading your products, and managing your social media accounts. Those 3 big areas takes back so much of your time, and it is very easy to outsource for when you find the right person and you document what you're doing. The way that we document is very simple. Like I said, you set 2 hours aside, then you go through everything that you were doing in the business in those categories. And then you simply shoot a Loom video showing how you do it. And then Loom even now has, you used to take the transcript over to ChatGPT. Now you don't have to do that. You just click the turn into an SOP button, and then it spits out a whole SOP document for you. Host that in Google Docs, fill up a folder with like 4 or 5 of those, and then you go hire for somebody on onlinejobs.ph. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of how we hire. If you're interested in that, it's in the 31-hour course. But point is, it can be very simple setting up these systems. It's just a matter of thinking about this as a real business that has big upside potential and seeing it as worthwhile to establish those systems in the first place. And as you are going through these growing pains, you are certainly going to hit rough patches. And this is where more sellers than anybody fall off, because there will absolutely be months where you feel like just throwing in the towel. And I've certainly been there, where it seems like you've been doing all the same things, but for whatever reason, your ads just don't convert. And we start to take our eye off of the finances. So then it starts to feel like we're burning cash. And then you make a new batch of designs, you quickly throw together, and it flops, which then leads to us feeling extremely burnt out and just self-doubt starting to creep in more and more. And this is where the majority of people pivot way too early and end up breaking the thing that was already working. It is way easier to fix something that was already working than it is to start something new completely from scratch. And the real brands are built during those months where it feels like nothing is working. And most people fold here because they never really had the perseverance or the mindset that this could be big, and they expected it to be easy. And so you don't need a new idea or a new niche or a new batch of designs. Oftentimes you just need more time. And the good thing is that you have that time. It's just a matter of allowing yourself to access it, because you are not stuck. You have just reached the next obstacle that you get to learn through. And most people here just get way too impatient to ever be able to see it through. So you don't need to fundamentally change your business or make some hard pivot. You need to just simply change your timeline and reframe your expectations. Because when you're able to finally make this shift to longer term thinking and thinking bigger rather than short term and just in terms of t-shirts, everything starts to click. And now I totally get it. In the beginning, I was like, I just need to make some extra money. Like whatever it takes to do that, sign me up. So I totally get it. But what I had offered to you is that it is entirely possible to optimize for short-term income while thinking long-term, thinking bigger. And it's actually more conducive to capturing that short-term income when you start to adopt a longer-term mindset. To give an example from a coaching call that I had a couple months ago, it was a member of the university who was sharing his experience with when he launched his brand. He was fortunate in that he had given himself a 3-month time frame to make it work, which 3 months is, I would say, the minimum, but he had done better than just giving himself a month, which is what a lot of people do. And he said that over that 3 months, when he first launched, his initial launch did not go well, and it took him about a month. And if he had only given himself a month, he would have then just, packed it in, thrown in the towel, whatever you want to call it, and moved on, and probably would have repeated that cycle maybe once, maybe twice a year for the next 5-10 years of his life until he just forgot about the idea. Instead, since he had a longer term outlook, he was able to push through that time, and he launched a second round of design testing. And what do you know? On the second round, he found 2 to 3 winners. And then when he launched a third round of design testing, he found 5 to 10 winners. And because he was able to push through that initial hurdle, get past that big first tipping point that we all face at some point, he was able to see it through to a point that now his brand is generating a monthly profit. And that one mindset shift fundamentally changes how you show up in your business and in many other areas of your life. And so hopefully that finally puts it to bed that print on demand is not some short-term side hustle, and the major mindset shift you have to make is starting to think big and think in terms of the brand that you could be building. Because once you make that shift, everything starts to change.